Hey, Soul Family, welcome to this week's Take 10 with Zen, where we take 10 minutes or less, usually. Sometimes I go more, to be honest. But we talk about things of spirit, how to connect more to ourselves, and I answer questions from my subscribers. We've been on this mission to kind of look into what are our spiritual gifts, how we can use them, how we can clear out these clogs between us and the higher realms of unconditional love, where all that love comes down and fuels our gifts. So we've been on this mission, and in this episode, we're going to talk about kind of like a menu of what spiritual gifts are, just to try to help us on our search and our journey to find out what we may have. And it's good to know, starting off, that we have access to every single spiritual gift. What? I know. It's like our astrological birth charts. We have all 12 houses, and we have the presence of all zodiac signs. Within our lives, there's just some that are more present because we have planets in them. We have certain aspects that are happening that are kind of sparking and making the influence of those signs even more so in our lives. And the same thing is with our spiritual gifts. You can even kind of separate them off like we do astrological signs into the four elements of fire, earth, air, and water, because it's all channeling. It's just a matter of how we're channeling it and what we're channeling. It's all energy. You might even see a relation to how much of a certain element you have in your birth chart and within what houses or what planets those are in. And I'll talk about what gifts are usually enhanced and come easily with certain elements in a moment. And there's no limit to the how or to the what or any of those things when it comes to spiritual gifts, except for this thing up here, the human mind. It is the only thing that can restrict us. And as we're diving in, trying to find out what our spiritual gifts are, something to be aware of is in the beginning, sometimes it has to do with our ego. It's wanting us to feel good about ourselves, wanting to feel special, and kind of a validation of who we are and, who we are to the world. And, it has to do with that. Am I worthy to receive these gifts? And, as those things unfold. Because that spiritual ego, when our regular ego, we feel like it's diminishing. Suddenly there's this other thing that appears and we're like, look at you, but it's really our ego. It's just taken on a different costume. It's our spiritual ego, and it'll draw us in that direction. But that's okay. It's part of our journey. It's part of our helper trying to show us those things. So I encourage you, as you go into the search, to really look and feel what makes your high heart sing. How do you uniquely want to share, your unconditional love with the world in your own special, unique way? Try not to allow, with even the stuff that I discussed, don't let it be walls and closing, but let it just be like a springboard of an idea of like, okay, this resonates with me a little bit, but I'm going to explore how it applies to me personally, not just a generality or these rules that we tend to create in religions, organized religions, unorganized religions, and our spirituality. So let's dive in and see what triggers or what shows up on your radar. So we start off with fire, which is the energetic world. And this can be any kind of energy work, whether it's what mankind has called Reiki or Qigong or Tai Chi or healing hands, whatever it is, it's this energy work where it is more movement of energy. It's not so much in the mind or the emotions and different things that we're going to talk about, but it is more at an energetic level, and you feel it in that realm. And then we move on to earth, which is the physical world of the five senses. This is where you can have clairaudience, where we hear, like audibly hear the messages from spirit and probably poop your pants while that's happening. Clairvoyance, which is seeing things and events that are happening far away. You can locate objects, places, people. It's all about using that sixth sense. It can be like remote viewing or remote sensing is sometimes what it can be called too. You can even smell things from spirit, like perfume, cigars, something that reminds you of someone who's gone to the other side, right? That just lets you know that it's them. Could even sense physical ailments, which is like medical mediums, if you haven't looked into that, and you feel like you are able to sense when something is happening to someone's physical body, that could be a possible gift. I like the dowsing. It's like locating water. And, in the old, if you ever watched old Westerns, that someone has a dowsing rod or one of those little stick rods that they're finding the water in the ground, type of thing. Levitation in the physical world. It's the ability to float or even fly by mystical means. You hear a lot of it through yogis and individuals, or the flying nun, if you watched that growing up. And then also in the earthly plane, manifestation and materialization. This is where you have this gift of being able to draw things to you, or even the creation of objects and material just out of nowhere, from unknown sources. So having things appear, not like a magician, like voila, but you also hear a lot of that with yogis, where they are able to bring things out of nowhere, or even in the Bible where Jesus multiplied, the fishes and the bread and every different things like that. So those are some pretty amazing things. And if those resonate, you can always look into those further. And then we move into air. That's more the mind, knowledge, communication, the mental world in a way. You can do astral projection or mental projection. And that's where you can voluntarily, like intentionally, project your astral body or your mental body, and you can travel, right? It's associated with out-of-body experiences, where you in your consciousness, you feel that temporary separation from your physical body. And you can also travel through dreaming. You can do this in a dreaming state, or a meditation state. There's also automatic writing, which you have the ability to draw or write without conscious intent. And that helps you connect to your subconscious, but you can also connect to, the spirit world with that. You have claircognizance. Try to say that 5 times fast. But that's the ability where you just have this knowing, this knowledge that you have access to without knowing how or why you know it. For me, I kind of have that, where I'm doing readings, in a way. And it feels like a memory I'm remembering, but it's nothing that I would remember because it's about other people. But it kind of comes in like it's coming through the mind. They have clairvoyance, which is one of the more, often heard phrases. And that is gaining information, about an object, a person, a location, a physical event, something like that through connection with spirit. That's something that you wouldn't know, but you just get this information that comes in. Claircognizance and clairvoyance are kind of close in relation. I feel like it's just different on how the information feels coming through. And of course, there's divination, which kind of has all of that. But you have the ability to gain insight into situations using the connection to spirit, tarot cards, runes, tea leaves, coffee, grounds, all sorts of interesting things of divination where you're using those and information's coming through for you from spirit, regarding a situation. Premonitions, prophecy, that's where you gain knowledge about future events and they come true, right? There's one called they kind of are both related. It's retrocognition and postcognition. Both of those, it's where you have the ability to perceive past events. So where prophecy and premonition are more future, you also have the ability to see and feel and experience past life events. There's some spiritual gifts called psychometry, where you can, it's like when someone hands you an object and you can touch the object and you can trace the history, talk about the person who owned it or had it or gifted it or whatever, but that's through touch is one way. And then telepathy is one of the known ones in movies and everything else, where you can transmit or receive thoughts supernaturally. So it's the reading of the mind or communication through the minds with each other. So those are kind of a lot of those that talk about the gifts related to air and the mind and knowledge, communication. And lastly, we go into water, the emotional world. And that's clairsentience. That's the ability to acquire knowledge by means of feeling. So the ones we talked about with air, it's more coming through the mind as thoughts, like there's ideas being dropped in your head. This is like emotion being dropped into your heart. And there's this knowing that kind of makes its way to the mind. It kind of gets interpreted. It's like emotional energy that comes in, and you just know where these emotions came from and what is at the root of it. Of course, there's also being empathic, where you feel people's emotions. And I talk about this in one of my Take 10 with Zen videos. It is episodes 9 and 10 talk about the empath, the empathic bubble, and the real gift of the empath. So if you feel that that is you, where you feel emotions of others and you get flooded with emotions, be sure to check those out. Some great tools in there, and it tells you that's just a small piece. The feeling of the gift of feeling others is just a small piece of the gift. There's something even more in that. And then just overall mediumship and channeling, it's the ability to communicate with spirit. And, really everything is channeling. We get all of this information, and spirit can communicate it with us through any of these things. Really, all of it is channeling, like I mentioned, in some way or another. But through the heart, through emotion, we are emotional beings, and that really is the energetic world, is a lot of emotional energy. And that's why we're able to, the more you get in tune with your heart, the more you tune in and clear that pathway of unconditional love to the higher realms, the clearer the channeling and the clearer the messages are that come through. All right, I'm running out of time. So hopefully that helps to give you some idea, things that sparked up, things that you were like, wow, that resonated with me. And you can dive deeper into it. There's tons of things on the internet, but try not to let things limit it. Just allow it to be ideas that you, like stepping stones and building blocks, to find out how you uniquely want to draw things together. Like sometimes there's channeling through painting, and people are like, what? The first person who did that. Now there's like art therapy and different things that people are realizing, different things that you can combine together to express your gift in your own special, unique way. So as always, if you have any questions on anything we talked about or anything you'd like to comment down below. We love to hear about anything, any gifts that we didn't mention, throw those out there too. And if you have any ideas of anything else you would like to hear in these Take 10 with Zen, pop that down below too. And if you don't want to mention that in public, I get it. You can also email me at my email address, which is at brettazen@gmail.com, and I'll answer you there. All right, beautiful people, thanks again for all your love, your support, and know as you're going through each and every second of every day of your life that you are unconditionally loved by the Mother and the Father of all things, our Creator, and of course, I love you too. So until I see you again, much love to you. You hang in there, and you take care.